Hello and welcome back to the third edition of Momentum. We're already getting stuck into round 2 footy after a massive round 1. It was really great to watch. Plenty of great games, obviously a little bit of controversies around refereeing decisions, but for the most part, a really good start to the year. Jakey Marketo joins me. Jakey, how are you? What was the week like for you? What did you think of the footy on the weekend?
Mate, I thought the footy was outstanding. I had a shocker in the tipping. I thought the games were going to be a little bit closer, especially that Broncos Penrith one and then the Warriors and the Roosters. Not to be. They turned up and put on a clinic, those two teams, against, teams that I had projected to be in the top 4. So, as I said before, shocking in my tippings, and footy has a strange way of surprising you every week, doesn't it?
That's it, mate. That's it. Well, look, I can't say the same. I think I was 4 from 6 in the end. Didn't scraped up okay. So we'll have to wait and see if we can keep that going, that momentum in the tipping. But let's get stuck straight into some news, mate. Plenty on at the moment in the NRL and stuff breaking in the last 24 to 48 hours. The big one is Mitch Barnett. He's been offered a contract by the Brisbane Broncos. He's met with Madge Maguire. They've offered him a 2-year deal worth $1.5 million, which is $750K per season. Not too bad. I think when you're looking at Mitch Barnett, he's going to be 32, 33 at that stage when he gets to the Brisbane Broncos, so he's going to be a little bit older. I don't mind it. In regards to the trip and how close it is to Taree, I think you could probably get a place sort of in the middle, depending on obviously where he wants to stay and if he wants to stay right in Taree or just a little bit outside. And I don't think it's too long of a trip from there to Brisbane. It would still be a little bit of a commute, but to go there, to get a decent deal with the Brisbane Broncos and to play in replacement of Payne Haas in what is a really good side at the Brisbane Broncos. Don't take too much out of round 1 footy for the Brisbane Broncos. It's a really good outfit. They're going to be in and around the top 8 again this year. But to go and to fit into that roster in the pack, replace a guy like Payne Haas, and then you've got a bunch of younger forwards coming through that can sort of come in after that. I think it's a really good pickup if he does end up signing with the Broncos. What are your thoughts, Jakey?
Mate, when a club like Brisbane Broncos come knocking, you answer the door. I'd be looking very, very hard at the deal that's been put forward to him, which no doubt I think he will be. Obviously, there may be 1 or 2 more contracts come his way in regards to the next couple of seasons, but Brisbane putting out 1.5 over 2 years is not too bad of a deal in my opinion.
It's not too bad of a deal at all. And again, you're playing in a really good side like the Brisbane Broncos. He will be a little bit of not a stopgap. He's going to be a great player. He's playing rep football. He's an Australian and in New South Wales front rower in regards to the quality footy he's been playing over the last couple of years. But just in there while they bring through the next crop of young forwards, I think it's going to be really, really good for the Broncos. And he's going to be great alongside Carrigan, Takura, Willison, a bunch of the forwards that they've got there at the Brisbane Broncos. It is still a really good pack with Mitch Barnett in there. Obviously, Payne Haas is a big loss, and you would have had Payne Haas for the next couple of seasons. But I still feel like Barnett is a really, really good pickup. Mate, the situation you were talking about, obviously contracts are going to come over the next couple of days, and I know this is nowhere near Taree. It might be a big shout, and the Warriors probably won't be too happy about it. But the Warriors have gone hard for Will Warbrick, it sounds like, for the 2027 season. Now, obviously, it was heavily publicised that the Warriors do want someone in return for Mitch Barnett to fill that roster, albeit it's not a front rower. But Will Warbrick's still a very quality player. Do you think there might be a few discussions with Melbourne for Barnett services for that 2027 season? Or do you think, it's not near Taree? Mitch Barnett's probably not going to want to go over there and play in that sort of area anyway, even though it's Melbourne Storm and, you'd be honoured to take that contract every day of the week. The reason that he's leaving the Warriors is to be near Taree and be near his family. So what are your thoughts? Is there a chance that Melbourne get involved for Barnett?
100%. I don't think anything's off the table. The only thing that would sort of sound a little bit weird is that he asked for a release to be closer to home. Now, to sign with Melbourne, that would obviously blow that out of the water. But in saying that, business is business in rugby league, and if they do end up having a discussion with Melbourne, I've got no doubt that may be a player swap involved, as the Warriors do want another player added to their roster for being able to release Mitch Barnett.
And the Melbourne Storm too, they have a bit of cash freed up as well, with Nelson obviously going this year and Pappy as well. So they've got the cap space in there to get a guy like Barnett into that team, albeit obviously when Warbrick walks out the door as well, they have about 400 to 500K extra as well on top of that. If you're the Melbourne Storm, Obviously, the Broncos have offered up $750K a season. How much are you paying Barnett to come over to Melbourne?
You'd probably put another 100 grand on top of it each year. I think maybe 8 to 850. Just due to the fact that you've got to want him to get there if his reasons are, as I said before, to go to Taree. I think that would sweeten the deal. But again, mate, if I'm Mitch Barnett and like the way that he's played the last 2, 3, 4 seasons, he's put himself in a real healthy position. I'd be really, really looking at being a part of the Brisbane Broncos.
Would you, if you're Melbourne, you're obviously looking at the fact that he wants to be close to the family. Even if it's a 1-year deal for Barnett, would you cop a 1-year deal maybe for a little bit extra, like a 900 for Barnett?
No, me personally, if I was in his position, I wouldn't. Mate, being a part of rugby league is such a privilege, and to be involved in it for as long as you can is the goal. It's not, obviously money is the sweetener and it's a part of rugby league, but to be able to be a part of it and, build whatever it is that you want away from footy while being a part of it is probably the new thing at the moment. I've got no doubt that if he is involved in rugby league for another 2, 3, 4 seasons, it only adds to what he does when he does finish playing.
I've got no doubt he's going to be in there for the next couple of seasons. I'm also just thinking, his reasons are to obviously be closer to family. He could go to Melbourne for 1 season and then go to a Newcastle Knights on a bit of a lower contract, or go to, the Brisbane Broncos on that 750 or a little bit less than that 750 as well. If he gets a good contract at Melbourne, goes there for a year, potentially wins a premiership, and then bounces over to maybe a Newcastle Knights who need a front rower, and that's where he obviously was playing previously, and that was the heavily rumoured one at the start when all of this Mitch Barnett news came out. Or obviously the one that's offered him a contract at the moment in the Brisbane Broncos is my sort of thinking. I just feel like you look at the Melbourne side, they're probably forcefully entering a little bit of a rebuild over the next couple of years once you guys like your Munsters and your Jerome Hugheses and all these sort of guys retire as well. So they're entering a little bit of a period. I just feel like, why not stack the side up as much as you can now, bring him in for 1 more year, go to that next level and potentially win another comp before you obviously see all these guys retiring and leaving and stuff like that, and you're going to have to change the side up a little bit. Does that sort of change things for you a little bit, or you reckon just go to Brisbane?
I think security, mate. As a player, security is paramount. A 1-year $900,000 deal compared to a 2-year 1.5. It's a bit of a different, song to the tunes. So, in me looking at it, I'm not Mitch Barnett, but if someone offered me 900 or 1.5 over 2, I would take the 1.5 over 2. Yeah,
100%. I'm just trying to make the Melbourne move make a little bit more sense. But look, I think Brisbane will be definitely the favourites. I think he will end up in Brisbane. Parramatta was the other club that was thrown up, and again, not really near Taree. But I look at, I was talking to a Parramatta fan the other day. I don't think Parramatta necessarily need Mitch Barnett. Like they've got a good, more mobile pack, and they're trying to go into that style of footy. They've got some really good attacking weapons in your Iongis and your Moseses and these sort of guys. Lorenzo, when he comes through, they've got Pezzett at the moment. Like, I just don't know why you'd want to bring in another 33 at that stage, your old front rower. You've got Paulo there. They've got a good young crop of forwards, Parramatta. I just don't know why you'd want to go for it's no respect to Barnett because he's still a high-quality player, but the footy that they're trying to play, the style of footy that they're trying to play, Barnett doesn't really suit that style of play that they want to play. What are your thoughts?
Well, they've also got Jack DeBell in there on one season contract as well. So they may be looking at it like, if these two players do move on or they're not, competing the way that they'd like, Mitch Barnett could come in and fill one of those 2 roles depending on who they want to keep. In saying that, the Parramatta Eels may have re-signed both of those players as well. Then, that conversation's sort of null and void. But as it is sitting here right now, the Brisbane Broncos have put that contract forward. It'll be interesting to see the next 2 to 3 contracts that sort of take place. And he'll have a big decision to make in the next 3 to 4 weeks, I think.
100%. Well, look, I'm keen to see this situation unfold and what it's going to look like for Mitch Barnett. It does look like he'll go to the Brisbane Broncos, and if we do sit here next week and he's at the Broncos, I think it's a really, really good pickup. I did want to get your thoughts. This will be more of a quicker one. Paddy Carrigan made some comments the other day just in regards, I'm not sure if you saw it, in regards to playing for PNG in the future. Now, he actually came out earlier last season and was asked a similar question about obviously his contract and if he was looking at other clubs and stuff like that. And he was pretty adamant that he was going to stay with the Brisbane Broncos, that there was no chance he was going to go anywhere else. And then he made some comments. I'm just trying to find that. It's on Clarkie's Rugby League column. Shout out to him. But he did make some comments the other day in regards to PNG. Here they are. Saying that he wouldn't rule it out in the future. He says it's a business. You learn how this game goes. I think there was a little bit more there. But Paddy Carrigan, PNG. If you're PNG, surely you want to get Paddy Carrigan in there as that marquee signing, don't you, Jakey?
It'd be a great leader of your forward pack, no doubt. I would even go close to suggesting the media's had a little bit of player spin on words there, in my opinion. I got no doubt they've probably asked him a question. He's just answered it honestly, and they've sort of run with it a little bit. I would be very, 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 very surprised if he does leave Brisbane.
Yeah, look, I tend to agree. And I mean, that was sort of what I was thinking anyway with his previous comments a little bit earlier last year when he was very adamant. He wants to build with Brisbane. And I think the difference between then and now as well, like even look at Payne Haas. We sort of didn't think Payne Haas was going to leave the Brisbane Broncos either, and he signed with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Like, they've won a comp now with the Brisbane Broncos, which was the end goal. Maybe they are looking at those other opportunities, especially with PNG. It's going to be tax-free over there. If you're getting a 750, 800, 900, especially with Paddy Carrigan, you could go over and pay him $1 million to go over there as a premier front rower in our game. That's all, you're getting all of that. So I think that there's definitely going to be a lot of star players that will look at that incentive. I saw that David Mead made some comments even throughout the week, just talking about the misinterpretation or,
yes,
looking at PNG as if it was a war zone and stuff like that. And he was saying that's definitely not the case as well, which I think is going to be really important, and it's going to resonate with a bunch of different players, especially being a former Brisbane player himself. I'm sure he'd be speaking to a couple of these guys about it. But yeah, Paddy Carrigan would be a massive, massive pickup for PNG. But as you said, like I don't know if he does leave the Brisbane Broncos. What would you pay Paddy Carrigan to go to PNG? Like, if you're offering him a contract now for PNG, new club, to be the marquee signing in the middle, what's Paddy Carrigan worth to go over there? Keeping in mind with the tax incentives, whatever they get, they're getting all of that.
I think he's a $900,000 player. Like, I think he's in that top tier middle front row. He gets selected. Was it the last 3 or 4 series for Queensland? He's straight in there. He's always in the Australian team or on the cusp of it. I'm not sure how many tests he's played, but if he were to go to any other club, I think $900,000 would get him there. I understand the tax differences, but I'm just saying that's what I think Pat Carrigan would be worth on the market.
And look, it's going to be hard to compete, especially if you've got clubs that are offering the same amount. The tax incentives might actually get you, well, most probably will get you over the line. Because as I said, if you're on a, let's say, $900K contract like we're throwing up here for Paddy Carrigan, at the end of the day, you're probably getting $450, $500 of that, just with tax and everything by the end of the year over here in Australia. Whereas, as I said, if you're getting $900K, $800K over in PNG, you're getting that full amount. So I think the players will definitely look at that. I think that what was thrown up by PVL, just listening to him on the Hello Sport podcast the other day, was that they're actually not going to be in the little compounds as well. They'll be in a full hotel suite that'll be set up for them and their families as well. So it'll be interesting to see how many players they can get over the line. We've obviously got Perth to come in first, so that'll be the main watch. But yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting, Paddy Carrigan, those comments. And I think, as you said, maybe there was a little bit of GST taken out of that from the journos, but we'll have to wait and see. Mate, Zac Lomax, it's finally been dealt with. He signed with the Western Force 2 years. Obviously, a deal with Rugby Australia as well, so he can play for the Wallabies. What are your initial reactions, your thoughts? Do you think that he's going to succeed over there in rugby union? Where does he play? What are your initial reactions?
My initial reaction, I'm surprised. I truly, and I made a reel the other day around Jesse Ramey and the Sharks and the Melbourne Storm. I truly thought, and obviously that didn't come to fruition. I just thought at the time that would be something that would suit, a deal that would be out there. I thought he was going to get another crack in rugby league. Like, I truly thought that. I didn't think he would go to rugby union, but obviously no NRL club out there with their cap or wanting to move players at the moment have shown their hand and thought, that their roster, the way that it is, does it need to be changed? I think he'll kill rugby union. I actually think he'll get bored with the game because he's such a high impact 20 to 25 carries, running all over the field. He's just involved in the game where rugby union is such a slow game. I think he may get a little bit stir crazy. I do think he'll be a success in it, and hopefully he gets a Wallabies jersey and we get to see him running around in a World Cup.
Well, I hope so too. I think he will kill it over there, as you're saying. I think he probably slots onto a wing spot there. It probably makes the most sense. He's got a bit of a kicking game. Can run the house down, as you said. Maybe there's an opportunity for him to play a bit of fullback and whatnot. I'm not sure how that Western Force lineup is looking. I won't lie. Don't watch a lot of Super Rugby, so I couldn't tell you what that side's looking like and where he fits in. But I like it. I think he will kill it over there. And then I'm just looking at the situation as well. I look at him, obviously, Western Force is a Perth team. I think he jumps straight over to Perth once he's back in 28. I think that he'll go straight to Perth. I think just going over there, getting fully settled over there as well, and then getting $1 million contract over with the Perth Bears to play fullback or to play on the wing, depending on how they're building their team, I think would be perfect for Lomax. What do you think?
It is. It's a draw card. He'll be over there set up base for a couple of years. He'll know the area. If he does choose to come back to rugby league, that's obviously on his radar already being over there. But, mate, you never know. He may go in there, love the game. I may be wrong, and he may fall in love with it and not be bored with how the speed of the game is or how many touches that he does get. And he ends up signing with rugby union for another 2, 3, 4 years. That's the way the beautiful world of sport works. I'm the same as you. I don't know the Western Forces playing style, where he will play, where he'll slot in, and how it will work. But that Perth Bears deal does look like it may be on the cards when the ARU and the Western Force contract does run out in a couple of years.
Well, look, we'll have to wait and see what happens with Lomax. I am, for one, I'm very happy that this situation is done and that Lomax can now focus on that year with the Western Force as well, getting used to that new code and just playing some footy again. I think that it's good for Lomax. It's good for the game. Good for the Parramatta Reels that they don't have to worry about trying to organise deals mid-season to bring players over. It would have just been a huge distraction for all the players. So I think that it's better for the game that this situation is sorted. I also think as well, like you were talking about him getting back into the game of rugby league, the more I sort of sat on it after the whole court case and the Melbourne, just the way that everything had been handled, especially with the fact that Parramatta wanted a star player in return, because there was obviously all these numbers thrown up about what Melbourne were offering with transfer fees and stuff like that. It was clear that Parramatta wanted a player in return.
Yes.
Just looking at the way that was all being handled as well, how far Parramatta were willing to take it, the fact that they went to court, that the NRL was subpoenaed as well, and they had to pretty much sort that thing out straight away as soon as the first day of court hit. I just don't know if any other club would have wanted to go through that. Like the Sharks, especially with the roster that they've got a really strong team. Yes, Lomax in that side would be perfect, and you'd obviously want a star player over there in Lomax if you could get him without giving up too much in return. But I just looked at that situation and I went, there's not going to be too many other NRL clubs that are going to look at that and go, yeah, I'd be willing to give up X player for Zac Lomax, or if I don't want to give up a player, have to be sitting around for the next 2 to 3 months, potentially have to go to court again, and that whole situation sort of irons out and fizzles into nothing. So I just look at that situation. It was one of the games first. We've never seen that thing play out the way it did before. But yeah, I don't know about you. I want to hear your thoughts. It just seemed more and more unlikely that NRL clubs were going to want to get involved with that situation.
And we are at the wrong end of the season. We're going into round one when all this stuff started happening. If this is in the off season, it's probably a different story, to be honest. People are still juggling their caps around. There's a couple spots involved. There's a little bit more time to be able to put a deal together. The managers can get on the phone and see where interest is there. The NRL season's already started. So it is hard, and I do understand why NRL clubs maybe were hesitant to actually put something forward. And Parramatta stood on business. I started to think maybe it's getting a little bit petty, but then I also do understand the business side of it, that it's a great swap to get an international for an international. And if they're not going to get compensated for what they allowed to happen in regards to a release, then that's the way it works.
And also on that as well, let's just say that there is a swap play moved. Zac Lomax, especially at this point in the season, Zac Lomax has gone to a club without a preseason, without training with those players, and expected to jump in and almost do a bit of a Lockie Galvin in the sense that he hasn't had the full preseason there. He doesn't have any combinations, and he just jumps in and plays and gets that match fitness back. And the other player as well will have to go to Parramatta without having a preseason there, without knowing any combinations there, and just sort of learn on the fly as well. So it does create a bit of a headache on that front as well, because you've got two players switching over after training with the team all preseason, and then having to make a switch in the opening rounds. Whereas, as you said, if it was in the preseason, at least Lomax can then go to that club. They can work around and try and see where he fits in that team. They can train him if he's going to play a different position to wing in that position with the combinations, defensive cues and stuff like that, systems. So I think it was never really going to happen in season, especially with how everything played out. I think it's better for the game that it's all sorted now and there's no mid-season swaps and whatnot. And happy that the situation's over and we don't have to talk about it anymore as well. And then just on the footy as well this weekend, a big part of, I guess, why there were so many blowout scores was the 6 again rule. Now, obviously, it's been heavily talked about at the moment, but obviously with the new set restart rule that was implemented this preseason, where they extended it to the 20-metre lines of each side, you're getting more space on the field, especially coming out of your own end where you can get pinned with 6 agains. And I think it seemed like the referees were taking full advantage of that, and there was heaps of 6 agains. Packs were getting very fatigued. You could tell, especially in that Eels and Storm game, that there was moments in there where Melbourne would get a couple of roll-on sets. There'd be 2 or 3 6 agains, and they were really struggling just to keep up with the pace of the game. And Melbourne were just stuck in attack, and they were able to score points. Even Broncos and Panthers as well. It seemed like it was a pretty similar story. Was it something that you sort of picked up watching the footy over the weekend?
Oh, I don't like the rule. I think it has the ability, if not used correctly, to dictate outcomes. I just think that no one actually, well, not no one, that's incorrect. A large portion of them, there's no accountability. You can just say 6 again, but not have to give a response on actually why it is that. I don't see the point in it. And the reason why I say this is that you as a player out on the field, you're completely fucked after 4 minutes. I'll promise you this. If the ball is in the field of play, your 4, 5, 6 minute period going backwards and forwards against a really good team in a high paced game, you're tired. To add 6 agains on top of it, it just adds unwanted fatigue, I believe. And I actually think it actually has the capacity to take away from attacking rugby league. If you're defending that much, how are you then supposed to get on your bike and begin to take hit-ups into a kick chase back in defence? I think if we had the capabilities to actually get rid of the 6 again and just let footy be played, you would see a better brand. That's my opinion, though.
I think as well that you were talking about that, obviously getting fatigued and then having to turn around and go on the attack as well, and just being buggered by that stage too. It takes away from building, flipping the momentum as well, because, let's just talk about this Storm and Eels game for a second. Parramatta were defending quite a bit. They were stuck in defence. Melbourne were attacking them. There was a Barrata 6 again calls throughout the game, particularly at the midpoint there. And Melbourne were just going again and again and again. And then when Parramatta did get the ball, there was a couple of errors in there. There was a couple of knock-ons. Junior Paulo offload goes forward. These guys are just absolutely smashed. So it actually it ruins the
the product.
Yeah, it ruins the product a little bit. But I think, in regards to getting momentum back as well after you've been berated and trying to get back on the attack, like you were saying again, it makes it almost impossible. And you're going to get these dominant scorelines as well, where one team is going to get all those 6 agains in a row, and the other team is going to suffer off the back of it and just be unable to attack. So,
and if you notice, right, some of the 6 agains are on tackle 1. So if you look at it, there's no advantage to that. Some of the 6 agains that I've watched that are done on 5th tackle, I'm sitting there going, okay, so you're going to do them there, but you'll give this team 6 agains on the 1st tackle, which actually doesn't really hold any benefit to them going forward. It just feels at times they're just done for the sake of being having the whistle blown, in my opinion.
It does feel a little bit like that. I wouldn't fully get rid of the 6 again rule, but what I would do is that if you have more, let's just say that, there's Eels are fatigued, Storm are on the attack, there's a couple of 6 agains in a row. By the time you get to that third 6 again, it's a penalty. Let's not keep just going 6 again until the Eels just fall apart and Harry Grant can take a scoot out of dummy half, run 20 metres and score a try.
Straight up the middle.
Straight up the middle. Like, let's have a bit of common sense. If there are 3 6 agains in a row and Parramatta are on the back foot and they've repeatedly giving away penalties for you to blow that 6 again, just give it a penalty. Like, just award the penalty, whether it's a kick for touch, whatever. Just give the penalty. And yeah, I feel like that would sort of bring it back a little bit because Parramatta can get back in their defensive line. They can take a bit of a breath and then they can get back into their defensive work and hopefully not give away too many other penalties.
I'll tell you what frustrates me as a viewer and a lover of rugby league. They'll blow them for one team and then not the other. As an example, holding down, hand on the ball, they'll call 6 again, right? But then when the other team does it, it's not the same. So there's inconsistencies all the way through it. Now, they wanted to bring it in to quicken the game up and make it more, more watchable and all these things. But all it's, if you look at it, how many high tackles are we having a game now? How many? Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, it's actually created weaknesses in other parts of the game. How many times are we now seeing defenders get head knocks because they're under such stress and fatigue? Like, you got to understand, like, we're watching it. Their heart rate's at 200. Like, they're absolutely spent out on the rugby league field. Once you've done 2-3 sets of 6 in a row, then you've got to take a hit up. It's very hard.
Yeah, it is. It'll be interesting to see if they do make a couple of changes. I think the one that I sort of threw up there, after 3 6 agains, you blow the penalty. I think that would sort of help a little bit because, as I said, then, a side like Parramatta who gets berated with 6 agains, they can sort of get back in the defensive line. They can get set. They can take a little bit of a breather. And you're not just getting done again and again and again with 6 agains until you get into that attacking zone and they can blow a penalty. So I think that one would probably work out a little bit well, how they sort of go around this and find solutions to better this and obviously limit that factor of fatigue will be interesting over the next couple of weeks. But let's get into the footy. We've done all the headlines now. Let's get stuck into the footy a little bit deeper. Mate, your game of the round, this round, what was it?
My game of the round this round is the Sharks v. the... Are you talking about the one coming up or just went past, sorry?
What was your game? What was the best game of the round for you?
I thought the Sharks... the Manly and the Raiders game at 4 points. I thought that was the most exciting game of rugby league. I thought... Manly have blown them at the park here. They come out the gates. How good's this? I actually tipped them, so I was doing the fist pumps in the lounge room. And then Canberra, at the start of the second half, there was like a 16-minute period where they went bang, bang, bang. And I thought, they could end up putting them on here. There was a little bit of a seesaw in the back end, middle part towards the back end of the second half. Manly got over the top. Then all of a sudden, we're going into Golden Point and the young halfback steps up and slots it, which is unreal. And Canberra got away with a massive win, I think, at 4 points.
100%. It was a great game to watch. It was definitely one of the more just entertaining games of footy. We'll talk about the Raiders first. Let's get stuck into this one. So, for the Canberra Raiders, who was the standout for you? Who did you think stood out the most in this one?
I thought Hudson Young had a massive input in the game. If you see that try, it was for the winger, I think Xavier Savage. He actually puts the kick in for him as a back rower. And he was on the opposite side of the field, which he actually plays on. So that shows footy IQ to be able to go, the ball's going to go this way, or he made his way over to that side of the field, was able to put it on the toe, and Xavier Savage ended up scoring. And I think, obviously, the play of the game, the halfback standing up and taking a drop goal to win the game in the pouring down rain. I think they were saying it's his 4th or 5th game in first grade. Unreal confidence to do that.
100%. And especially as well, I've been hypercritical on Sanders when he's come in first grade. There was 2 games there for the Eels where he had to come in and replace Dill Brown or Mitch Moses at a stage and just didn't look too good. Obviously, didn't have a lot of experience in the NRL, but just didn't look ready for that stage yet. Had a couple of games for Canberra as well where he was sort of just getting used to the physicality again and whatnot, and had some nice moments, but didn't really seem ready. And even throughout the off-season as well, there was discussions held with different halfbacks around Ethan Sanders as well. So you look at that optically and you were like, do they have a lot of confidence in him? He comes out, he kills it. I thought his spacing was really good, his timing, his kicking game throughout the contest, not just the field goal, but just A couple of the kicks that he put through, getting the Canberra Raiders out of pressure at stages when Manly, as you said, they did start to get back into the arm wrestle towards the midpoint of that game. I thought that he was really good. He seems like he's come out of the gates really well under a halfback coach in Ricky Stewart.
He has. I think having a guy, as your coach, as in Ricky Stewart, who's probably a top 5 halfback that ever played rugby league, is only going to add confidence to your game, especially as a young fella. It might be a bit overbearing and a bit daunting at times, but I think as a halfback, if Ricky Stewart keeps you around for 4, 5, 6 seasons, you're only going to bring so much benefit to yourself, but to the team that you're playing with, even if it isn't the Raiders, if you do end up going to another club. Being mentored by Ricky Stewart as a half would only be something that people can dream of coming into rugby league. I do want to put one thing out to you. I actually thought Fogarty and Turbo combination was outstanding. When I was watching the game, it was like Turbo wasn't overplaying to be involved all the time, but somehow the ball was getting to him in the right parts of the field. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I thought that Fogarty was pretty good, to be fair. I just feel like, other than Paseka, especially after that first 20 minutes, I feel like the Raiders did have a little bit of a roll on there leading into halftime and then throughout that second half. So it was sort of hard for Fogarty to put Tom Trbojevic in all the time. That first try in the first 3 minutes was awesome. It's a great example of what you were talking about there, just putting him in the right spots. But yeah, look, I thought Fogarty was good, to be fair. The kicking game from him at stages throughout this game, and Tommy Turbo looked outstanding on his play 2 carries. He looks like he's got a ton of confidence this year as well, especially after a couple of soft tissue injuries. So, you're right. That was really good to watch as well. But then on the flip of that, you've got Ethan Sanders, who we spoke about, but then Kyo Weeks as well, who was just in absolutely everything for the Canberra Raiders. Haven't got his stats up in front of me, but he was unbelievable. I think he had about 20 or 22, 23 odd carries, 200, high 200 meters. Just unreal. But regardless of that, every time that there was a try scoring opportunity, he was out the back there. Every time that they needed a little bit of go forward as well on those play 2 and 3 carries, he seemed to always be there for those carries as well. And because he's got a bit of size on his frame now. When he left Manly, he didn't have a lot of size on him. He's put on a couple kilos since going to Canberra, and he can handle that contact so much better now. Plus, you got the leg speed and just the speed in general once he does break the line. Kyo Weeks was outstanding, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He's got that nice thick base through his hips. As you bring up a great point there. He generally does beat the first tackle, doesn't he? He's got that really evasive late footwork and being able to twist and turn, and he's developed a really good passing game, even his short passing game. When he comes out the back, sometimes he just gets it and gives it. I really like that. That gives his centres the time to be able to play. He's not always looking for that 3-on-2 option. He just likes to trickle the ball onto the centre, see what comes off the back of that, and then obviously the Raiders can pull shape.
100%. I love Kyo Weeks, especially with Sanders in there. Saying this on another podcast just before, with Sanders, he doesn't need to do a lot. Like, he can have a 6 out of 10 every single week, and if Weeks and Strange are having good games around him, he's going to look very, very good. So, and Weeks and Savage, even though Savage didn't have the stats to back him up in this one, Savage was unreal, and again, involved in a lot of tries. He was playing on the opposite side of the field as well, if you noticed as well. He obviously was that more left side dominant player last year, moving over to the right side. So I thought that he was great. I'll tell you who else was good in the spine, mate. Starling and Brayley. Both of them I thought had a huge impact. Starling in particular because he played more minutes. But I thought both of the nines were outstanding to service. And you compare that obviously to a game we'll get to a little bit later on with Parramatta and just the nines and obviously a little bit of inexperience with their passing and whatnot. Complete flip from this game here for the Raiders, where Starling always hit the right guy on the chest, coming out of 9 as well. He's timing and just picking his moments really well with his running game, and when to pass was really good defensively. Like, Starling, Brayley had really good games.
It was it's a luxury to have those two players as your nines. Like, Starling's a lunatic. He leads line speed. He gets his body in front. Great passer of the ball. Then you get Brayley, who's just that calm head. I think they've played maybe around the same sort of games. I'm pretty sure maybe Brayley's a little bit ahead of him. But to get that calm head on, towards the back end of halves and towards the end of the game where the game's probably a little bit slower and he can begin to just filtrate the ball off to the halves and see what they can do. I think it's a great 1-2 swing that they do have. I think Tom Starling is actually playing maybe a little bit more intensely this year. If you see, in rugby league, everything's about competition. Brayley's a starting number 9 and, probably most other clubs that he goes to. So I've got no doubt Starling wants to perform at that higher rate with bigger intensity, just so Brayley doesn't come in and steal his jersey.
And even Starling at 13 late in the game as well, when they were trying to obviously get the win, or at least even it up with Manly. Starling at lock looked unreal as well. He looked very, very silky. He was obviously drawing in defenders and trying to create space outside, or he was taking little carries himself with a bit of leg speed there, a bit of a smaller forward. So yeah, really good games there. Brayley for me was impressive, more so from the fact, again, the stat sheet doesn't really blow you away. But just perfect service. It's exactly what you wanted to see from Brayley after a couple of injuries. He's at a new club. It's a fresh start. I think that it's a really good sign for Brayley. And for Ricky Stewart to back Jaden Brayley in over Owen Paddy, who he's had there all of last season, who's the young prodigy, he's going to be the next 9 coming through, obviously after your Starlings and your Brayleys as well. For Jaden Brayley to be backed in over a young guy like Owen Paddy, and to play like he did on the weekend, defended really well, really good passing out of the 9, didn't run too much, but set up his outside man extremely well. Service, cut out passes, those long passes as well. Brayley was good, mate. It's exactly what you want to see from him.
Exactly right. And as I said, he's going to be a luxury to have the whole season with those two having the 1-2 punch at Canberra.
100%. Just the last thing on the Canberra Raiders, we sort of talked about Kyle Weeks out the back there on the play 2 carries. Xavier Savage, obviously, with a big performance and a couple of tries, but Tamale, both of those guys on those play 2s, they were a threat. When you have 2 wingers that can just turn the game around momentum-wise and just get you at least maybe 15, 20 metres on their carries, and then it sets the forwards up really nicely on their sets as well to really barge down the field. Especially when the Raiders flicked the switch after 20 minutes in the first half and they started to get a bit of a roll on. Yeah, you can say it was Tarps, and yeah, you can say it was Horsburgh who had a good game as well. But these two, Savage and Tamale, were a big part in that, and a big part of that momentum shift.
Yeah, they started the sets really well. And Savage is a surprise packet. Like, he's not the biggest body, but he has that elusiveness to get in between plays and keep that momentum coming off the back of those that 1 and 2 carry. He usually comes in on that second or third. If you've noticed, he doesn't begin the momentum. He actually comes on and keeps it going. Tamale is a great pickup for him. I'm looking forward to watching him play for the rest of the season.
I bet you're spewing about losing Tamale, mate. He's an ex-Dragon.
I did see that. You can't keep them all. But, I'm glad that his career's going well down at the Raiders.
Yeah, he's doing very, very good things. Touch on Manly a little bit. As you said, mate, Tommy Turbo and Fogarty, they had a really nice combination. I thought as well, I actually thought they probably needed another 9 in there. We talked about the 1-2 punch with Brayley and with Starling. Simpkin played the full game in this one. I sort of want them to have another 9 there because Simpkin did look a little bit fatigued, and it took away from a little bit of a running game that he does have. And especially with how good Brandon Wakem performed throughout the offseason as well. He was in the extended bench. Like, they had the opportunity to use him because they only used 3 of their 4 interchange players in this game. It was just a little bit weird that they didn't take Simpkin off for a bit of a break. Do you sort of think the same thing?
Yeah, I do. I don't think they have the luxury Canberra has, and the game wasn't that fast. Like, it was a lot of stoppage. There was good periods of the game when the ball did move, but there was a lot of stoppage. It was obviously wet weather, so we're not moving as fast. I actually thought Simpkins didn't go too bad, but I think for Manly as a whole, if they do have I'm not sure what their roster looks like. If they do have a 9 there, I don't see the harm in probably sitting someone on the bench like that, just in case there's an injury. And also, you want to have someone that can actually fill your spots, not sort of makeshift. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny. They had Joey Walsh on the bench, who's supposed to be the next up-and-coming half in this side as well. They didn't use him either. So they had the opportunity to bring someone on at 9. It was just a little bit strange that they didn't. For me, as you said, it was a bit of a slower game, so you probably didn't need to, but it was just something that stood out to me. I thought that Simpkin, even though it was a slower game, did look fatigued at stages, and he didn't run the ball as a result of that. Mate, Hamoliola Kawatu defensively had some huge, huge plays in this one. He was massive on that right edge. Even a little bit banged up as well, late in the contest as well. It looked like he had a little bit of an ankle or a knee injury, or maybe it was a big cramp. But, defensively, had some huge plays for the Manly Seagulls.
Yeah, he's an absolute beast. He'll be there Origin time if he remains fit. I did see that. He was getting his calf rub. It looked like the bloke tipped the whole jar of Danker rub onto his right calf. It was white by the time that, he had to get up and try and get to the scrum. He looked like he was in a fair bit of pain, so hopefully that's getting looked after this week, so he's 100%. But, Hamole's just one of those players, mate. You give him the ball and just let him create destruction, see if he can create some second phase. He'll give you that fast play of the ball and play off the back of it.
I'll tell you what, talking about Origin, New South Wales have some pretty great options for right back row. It's going to be super hard for Laurie to pick the side this year. I mean, Jacob Preston looks like he's coming into the season strong. You've got Liam Martin, who's obviously the incumbent. Hamole obviously there as well. Like they're pretty sport for choice. It'll be interesting to see what Laurie Daly does go for. Tolu Kula tried to get them back in the game. Yet he had some massive plays towards the back end of this one, but just couldn't seem to get them back in. Unfortunately, had that knock on coming out of his own end, but on a whole, like pretty dangerous on that left side, Tolu Kula.
Mate, they actually opened the field up to get the ball to him a couple of times. He made a line break. Did he score a try? He did score a try, didn't he?
Yeah, he scored one.
Did he get over?
Yeah, he did.
He looked very dangerous every time he got the ball. I think he's going to get better as the season goes on. He did recently just re-sign, I've seen as well. So, extra motivation to come out round one and put on a show.
100%. And, there was chat too, because 2024 and even stages of 2025 didn't have the best season and was just sort of slipping out of form. 2023 was like a year we were sort of talking about him a little bit for the Origin conversation, but sort of slipped out of form a little bit there. And then the back end of 2025, he had an unbelievable little period there, and he seems to have come back in with a similar sort of energy, so he'll be good to watch. Last player I want to touch on for Manly, mate, is Taniela Paseka. I think he was the standout for me. If there's any player that I want to give raps to in this game, it's Big Paseka. Just came in super strong through the middle. Not a lot of the forwards got over that 100-metre mark. He was probably the only forward that did in this game. But regardless of that, his physicality, the way that he started that first 20 minutes really set the tone for that period of the game where Manly were on top and they were scoring points. Paseka was outstanding.
Yeah, they need him in the team every week. He was a big loss to the injury that he got last year for them in the middle. He just has that go forward, doesn't he? It helps when you're 6'5", 115 kilos. So if he can, remain on the park for a large part of the season for them, they're only going to be better with him leading their forward pack.
100%. Let's get into the other games, mate. We'll touch on these ones. Eels and Storm. Obviously, the Storm getting the job done in a massive, massive way. Starting off with Melbourne, I think the standout for this one is pretty obvious, mate. It was our Momentum Breathies Player of the Week, Harry Grant. Outstanding performance.
Mate, he was in everything. I was shocked when he got picked up that injury. I thought he had a serious leg problem, but it ended up being a strain or a cork, wasn't it, or something along the lines of that. I heard Bellamy take the piss out of him in the press conference after the game, so he'll be right for round two, hopefully. The biggest thing I sort of looked at with the Storm, obviously the score was 52-4. They had the ball for 60% of the time, completing at 85%. The Parramatta Eels had the ball obviously for 40% of the time and completed at 63%. Like that's the main reason, if you look at statistics, that allowed them to put that 52 score line on Parramatta in round one. I thought, as we were speaking before about the 6 again, I think at times Parramatta got dudded with some 6 again calls, which obviously resulted in, fatigue drop balls, balls that didn't actually find the mark, and just, some uncharacteristic things in defence. Not to take anything away from the Storm, but I know Parramatta will be ready to go out again this weekend and give a better performance.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think I wouldn't really take too much out of this game. I think the fatigue was definitely a big factor in this one. Who have Parramatta got this weekend, actually? That'll be a good litmus test. They got the Broncos. It's going to be a tough test for them going up against Brisbane this week, especially a Broncos side that want to respond after a bad performance against the Panthers.
It makes for a good game, that, doesn't it?
Oh, it's going to be such a good game. Both sides got flogged and they're going to want to really respond. So that'll be a big watch for the Parramatta Eels. But look, back on Storm, Harry Grant, his movements out of 9, his service, even just picking the right moments to dart out of 9 as well, and find some opportunities there. That run out of dummy half, obviously off the back of the fatigue of the Parramatta Eels, and just goes straight through the middle of them and puts the ball down for a try. The second try that he scored was insane as well. He was incredible. I thought as well, Melbourne actually played to that fatigue really well. And
Yeah.
I think Munster, especially with some early kicks and just really putting Parramatta on the back foot and just kicking the corners early, getting them running back and scrambling after working hard in defence and multiple repeat sets. I thought that Munster's kicking game in this one was huge, just really drilling the Parramatta Eels and really playing on that fatigue.
Well, he did, and he also ran for 80 metres. Like, that's when Munster's on. Anything above 60 metres into that, 80, 90, 100 metre, that means he's actually wanting to take the line, and I think that's when they are at their most dangerous. Moses Leo, I have not really heard of him, and he's just got placed in the starting centre role for round one for the Melbourne Storm and come down and absolutely put a clinic on down in the centres. Great work to him. I hope he gets to hold his position this week and gets to go again. I just thought he was outstanding. 171 run metres for 14 carries, post-contact 37 with 3 tackle breaks. Like, that's big, mate. I only think he's played, maybe 10 to 15 games of first grade?
Yeah, not even. He's played 3.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
well, good on him. That's unreal to come out in round one against a Parramatta team. I tip, by the way. I got that one heaps right. So good on Moses Leo, and I hope he has another cracking game this week.
Yeah. I think that that one's going to be – he's going to be a watch as well, because especially when Xavier Coates comes back into this back line, if he plays well enough, they've got Nick Meaney leaving at the end of the year to go to Perth. I think they could make a tough call and keep Moses Leo in there because he was outstanding. And even Jack Howarth on that right side too had some nice carries. My vibe around Howarth, if they do want to keep Meaney in the team, is that he might end up at right back row to accommodate for Eli Katoa, is my vibe, just the way that he was running on the weekend. A couple of just some really simple line running. I feel like they're sort of prepping him to play a bit of back row because he came through in the back row, not in the centres. But Moses Leo definitely stood out. Cooper Clark, there's a player there. I was really impressed with him when he came onto the field. Really good intensity, very, very physical, so much confidence, very, very fit. Just seemed like he could go all day. What did you think of Cooper Clark?
Mate, when he come on, he made an impact. He's a teenager still, playing in the middle.
Yep.
What an athlete. Like, I don't want to put pressure, and I don't like throwing things out there, but like, it's almost like Glenn Lazarus to an extent with how he's gone out there, put himself in the middle and just gone as hard as he could for the time period he was out there. He did pick up, though, an injury, didn't he? Is it going to be a couple of weeks, or is it something that can get nursed this week and he can come out and give himself another opportunity to put in another massive effort?
I'm not too sure. I haven't heard too much on an injury, so I think he might be good to go.
Excellent.
That would be awesome if he's good to go there. But yeah, he was outstanding. I think as well, Munster was talking on Levels the other day as well, just about his story. He came to Melbourne, I think, 2 years ago.
145 kilos, wasn't he?
Yeah. And just as a teenager as well. And then obviously dropped that weight and then competing with the outside backs in fitness. Yeah, so he's an absolute gun. So
yes.
Cooper Clark, he's going to be a bit of an animal. And then some other players here. Look, Sua Failongo as well. He looks sharp. And the thing I like about Failongo is the fact that he picks his moments really well. Like, he doesn't overplay his hand, and you'd expect that from a fiery young fella that, is all out attack, but just picked his moments extremely well and let the other guys create opportunities for him as well.
Yeah, I think he's going to get better as the season goes on, and I think we may be watching someone who's going to be very special, especially if he can stay at the Storm and they can just continue to feed his confidence in that system.
100%. Look, just quickly on Parramatta, there were sort of 2 main things I want to bring up. We've talked a bit about the errors and the fatigue and all that sort of stuff, so we won't stay on Parramatta too long. The first one was the hookers. I sort of touched on it when we were talking about Canberra. Their service out of 9, unfortunately, was really poor. And especially when you've got 2 back rowers going hard at the halves in Pizzette and Moses, the last thing you want is on last tackle for your hooker to come out of dummy half, get caught by the markers, and then give you an awful ball and no time to make a decision on last.
Yeah, I got no doubt Jason Rolls would have held a pretty direct video session this week because they are better than scoring 4 points and having 52 point on them. The biggest thing I took away from the Parramatta game, and we all know there's footy there, that first try they scored, It was perfect. Just laid outside the right post, shifted the ball. Moses played lovely and direct out the back to Pezzett, who straightened it up even more. Iongi with that nice tap on, and then Sean Russell was able to finish the corner. When they scored that first try, I thought, hold on, this could be interesting here. And then all of a sudden, blowout. But I know Parramatta will come out this week. They've got another hard task, as we were speaking before, against the Brisbane Broncos. But I definitely think their effort this week will be a million times better than what was dished up down in Melbourne.
100%, mate. 100%. The other thing I wanted to touch on quickly with Parramatta was Joe Chan, that tackle on Pezzett.
There's a bit of animosity there, wasn't it? It was good.
That was good stuff. And then just screaming at him as well after it when he made the error. I tell you what, wouldn't want to be Pezzett's ribs going into the following day. He got absolutely rocked. Wars and Chooks, the Warriors and the Roosters. Warriors getting the job done in Auckland. Did say on the potty that the Warriors in Auckland were going to be a little bit of a threat. We all tipped the Roosters, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, Warriors getting it done. For me, the big factor for the Warriors was Tanner Boyd in his kicking game. He was outstanding, wasn't he?
Mate, he played a typical number 7 game, didn't he? Kicked the corners, up in the air. He had used all of his arsenal. Him himself scoring 18 points. I thought he was outstanding. And it looks like he wants to just take that number 7 jersey and make it his own this year. Obviously, Metcalf is going to come back into the team at some point. Whether he goes into 6 and Harris Tavita goes somewhere else or Tanner Boyd does will be, a juggling act for them. But the way that Tanner Boyd played in that round 1 game to, orchestrate that win against the Roosters was putting him in good stead.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll get to it in the Penrith game, but Cogger came on in a bit of a 14 role and sort of played a bit of halfback, and in Cleary and Talangi sort of took on a bit more of a running game. Yes. I could definitely see a world where, especially with Metcalf's running game, if they put Tanner Boyd in jersey 14 and he comes on in that sort of halfback capacity, and they can just get Metcalf and Shania Staveta to do their best work attacking wise and take risks, and Tanner Boyd can take care of the rest. I think that could work out really well. What are your thoughts?
It has the potential to be something like that. I just feel if moving forward, Tanner Boyd strings 2, 3, 4 wins in a row for them, it'd be very, very hard for a coach to sit there and go, I'm going to pluck this guy out, I'm going to put this guy in. That's my view on it. I'm very big on if you're earning the right to wear the jersey every week and we're winning due to the fact of the way that you're playing and your input within the game, especially as a half, it's hard to sort of juggle that around. Not saying that it will happen, but if it does and the Warriors go on a nice little streak here, Metcalf may find himself maybe in 6 and Harris Tavita maybe doing that sort of roaming role that you're talking about. And two, the luxury is Harris Tavita is actually a bit of a bigger body. I think he'll be able to handle the middle a little bit better defensively.
Yeah, look, totally. I think that's definitely a possibility. It'll be keen to see what the Warriors do. But yeah, Tanner Boyd, he was outstanding. You'd hope that he has a few performances like that. And even just the Warriors, attacking-wise, they just played with so much confidence. You touched on Harris Tavita, had some really silky plays down that left-hand side, and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and Adam Pompey looked like they were in for another big year as a combination. That left-side attack for the Warriors was dangerous, wasn't it?
Have you ever seen Tuivasa-Sheck play a bad game in rugby league?
I don't think so.
Mate, he just comes out and gives 9s out of 10s every week. He beats the first defender 99% of the time. What a player, mate. Like, I'm in awe of the bloke. I think he's an absolute gun of a player and has been for a long time.
He was awesome. And even that cheeky little pass back on the inside for one of their tries as well. I think it might have even been Tanner Boyd. Yeah, he is good. Shania Stavita, actually, it was, because Chanel scored 2 tries in this game. Mate, what are they going to do? Because I think the one thing that I was sort of critical on for the Warriors was Jacob Laban. Just thought he had a few poor defensive reads. I know Ali Leitao was probably the main one, with Billy Smith carving him up a little bit there on that left-hand side for the Roosters. But Jacob Laban, I think, defensively had a few poor reads as well. And, I mean, you got Leka Halasima that came onto the field and scored in the first 2 minutes that he was on the field. So, what do you think? Do you think there's going to be a change there? Do you think they stick with it for the next couple of weeks and sort of test it out? What are your thoughts?
I thought the win and the way that they did win may save them for this week, and I've got no doubt some extras will be done on the field. it all depends on how you back up. You know, we all have the tendency to be off in one or two games. I think, though, the way that the Warriors played and the way those guys were able to do certain things, maybe in the attacking side, maybe there was, communications on the field that they, put themselves under a bit of pressure, but help someone else on the outside or the inside of them. So I think some extras this week, maybe with some one-on-one tackling, will be beneficial for them to do, and hopefully taking some good momentum into this weekend's game.
Yeah, totally. We'll be keen to see the Warriors go again. Just lastly on the Wars, Jackson Ford, he played 71 minutes in this one in the front row and just killed it. He was a big part of them and their momentum through the middle, and just going after big Naf White. That battle through the middle there was all time.
He'll probably wear that number 10 jersey for a while now. Obviously, that Barnett's leaving, so I think he's got himself rocking and ready to have a massive season and take that into the next couple of seasons. Someone who's gone into the Warriors team and just made it his own also is Aaron Clark. I thought when they lost Dylan Walker that they'll lose that sort of, that shorter, thicker body that can play in the middle. He's actually brought a lot. Not saying that he didn't do that before, but he's really taken this starting 13 opportunity and, sort of added a lot of dimensions to the Warriors forward pack, where I thought they would have lost it with Dylan Walker leaving.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, he came through as a bit of a half/9 at the Titans. And was sort of playing a little bit of a middle role. They tried to push him into that role at the Gold Coast Titans. He then goes to the Warriors, and there's a bit of conjecture as to where he would fit into that team, maybe 14 or something. Comes out 13, killed it last year, was locked forward of the year last year, obviously, but it doesn't look like he skipped a beat heading into this season, that's for sure.
Yep.
Mate, for the Chookies, I guess the player of the game for this one was probably Naf White. We were talking about that battle through the middle. Nafai White, 200 plus meters, just unbelievable performance from him as well.
He's in that top tier premier prop, isn't it? It's probably Haas, Adam Fanua, Blake, and him. Would you agree?
I think he's definitely working his way into that spot. That's for sure. He was really good on the weekend. Just thought his leg speed, strength, aggressiveness, even in defense as well. He was coming out of the line and just putting his body on the line there a bit. He was great. I thought that Nafai White was really good. I'll tell you what, though, I've got a little bit of concern around Angus Crichton.
In what way?
Just a few errors, really uncharacteristic errors in the trial. And then in this game, I think he had 3 or 4 errors as well, just handling errors as well that you don't normally see from him, coming off the back of a pretty decent year with the Roosters. Like, I don't know. It's too early to say because it's only round 1 and we don't judge trial form too seriously, but he almost looks a little bit absent. He's going to rugby next year. 1 year last year with the Sydney Roosters. I don't know. Just it's a few errors that are just pretty uncharacteristic for him, especially in that Roosters team.
Yeah, I can't say that. I think Angus Crichton, obviously errors are no good, but someone of his stature and how many rep games he's played, how many first-grade games he's played, I've got no doubt he'll turn that around this week and become a real leader, as he always has been with the teams that he's played for, and set a bit of a tone this weekend. While we're talking about great players also, James Tedesco, same as Tuivasa-Sheck. I don't think I've seen him play a bad game of rugby league. The funny thing is with Tedesco, the media tried to spin this narrative like, he's not as good as he once was, but I think it's because he's just played 9 out of 10s for probably the last 15 years. If he's not doing something that's unreal, people just think he's out of form. When you go back and look at him statistically, he hasn't had an off game. He literally is involved in everything. I think he runs for close to 200 metres literally every game. He's the captain of the club, and I've got no doubt he'll be in contention to play Origin again this year.
I think so too. I think Tedesco was outstanding. Just in this one as well, especially with a bit of a new halves pairing, and Sammy Walker and DC was trying to work themselves out a little bit. He'd come in and take pressure off them a couple of times as well in their set pieces. So, Tedesco, strong game from him, even though it was a pretty tough loss. Not too much else on that one, mate. Probably Lindsay Collins was the last guy I was going to shout out there. Just a few really nice defensive movements and really aggressive coming out of the line, especially when the Warriors got on the front foot. He was one guy that just really didn't give up on anything and was trying to turn the game around. What were your thoughts on big Lindsay Collins?
He's a great competitor. He only ran for just over 40 metres, which isn't really his way of doing things. So I've got no doubt, as I said again, the Roosters full pack will come out beaming this weekend and set a real good platform for the 6 and 7 to hopefully shine.
Yep, I agree. Let's get stuck into the Panthers and the Broncos. Definitely not the way we thought the Broncos were going to go down. I did tip the Panthers, but I didn't tip them in this sort of fashion. They get the job done 26-0. Broncos don't score a point, but I'm not too concerned on the Broncos. As you said with Parramatta, I think they come out next week and they probably turn things around, but definitely not the way you want to start the game, especially in a Madge Maguire coach side.
Mate, the Broncos, I know it's a cliche thing, it's round one for the Broncos, but I watched the World Club Challenge into round one. I think they look flat. Now, I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon saying they're overtrained or anything like that, but I think the travel, probably not getting the chocolates overseas when they have such a decorated side, maybe affected them a little bit, the travel back. And my foot in my mouth again, going in against the round one Panthers team, which I thought were nowhere near have the strike power that the Broncos do have, plus also Martin getting pulled out of the game. I just thought to myself, this is just lined up perfectly for the Broncos to hit the ground running. How wrong I was. Nathan Cleary goes out, does what he does. They actually look like they could have probably put a couple more tries on top of them. So the Panthers have just come out and, just continued their run still. I know they got knocked down the preliminary last year, but the start to their year last year, they were dead last to like round 11, wasn't it? Or 10 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So to get a round one win against, the people who lifted the trophy up at the end of last year, I've got no doubt it's going to do the confidence they already have an even bigger boost.
Here's a stat for you.
Give it to me.
With how dominant the Panthers were, what do you think their completion rate was in this game?
74%.
It was 71. It was low, but they were still dominant. I think the big thing for them in this one, the Panthers, was their defense. They were ruthless in their defense, especially with a few different combinations. They pull out Isaac Tungo. Tom Jenkins goes to left wing. They move Paul Alamotti to right centre. So obviously a few different defensive combinations there for the Panthers. And they still come out and they are ruthless with their D. Tony Stagg's one of the better strike centres, Australian centre. Can't even score a point in this one. Penrith just get 4 defenders on him and shut him down straight away. Penrith's defence in this one was outstanding, wasn't it?
It was a bit of an ambush, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They went to Suncorp and ambushed him, which is, I don't think people would have thought that. I know I didn't. Is Casey McLean almost a shoo-in if he stays injury-free to get Daly M Centre of the Year?
I almost think, and I've already been shut down by this by a couple of fans because there's a bunch of other guys that could grab that spot, but I almost think Casey McLean will play Origin this year for the Blues. I think,
mate, he's a very big possibility. He has all the makings to be an Origin player. I'm going off this game. He was by far head and shoulders above the 2 centres who won the comp last year. And that's a hard thing to say considering Katoni Sag and Shibasaki are both Australian players. This guy went out there and the biggest thing for McLean is the way it goes back to the way he played against Stephen Crichton last year in that Bulldogs game. He just did not care. Most players, and, even I, speaking about Stephen Crichton, I'm in awe of the bloke. What an athlete, what a footy player, what a leader, what a man. McLean just goes out there and goes, well, that's good. You're like this. I'm like this. What are we doing? So I think McLean is only going to get better, and to stay in that system and, you got that spine around you and the way that Cleary's going to use him this year playing footy, I just think he's almost a shoo-in to get Daly M Centre of the Year if he's healthy.
100%. And I was a bit nervous about Casey McLean coming into this year as well because the second year syndrome and whatnot, and Penrith side obviously wasn't changing too much, but I just was a little bit nervous about him. I was a little bit iffy. Still a very young guy. Yeah, he come out and he killed it. He was outstanding, Casey McLean. Talking as well on the Panthers, mate, Tom Jenkins. Jesus, you can't take him out of this side again.
What a pickup.
Yeah, massive.
Even his story, didn't he go to a club, couldn't get a run, then come back and worked his way in for a New South Wales Cup, and then he's been in first grade ever since. Is that correct?
Try Ron Massey Cup. He had to play Ron Massey just to get a crack at a contract with Penrith as well.
Good on him, mate. See, yeah. They're the type of stories that I hope rugby league players out there who aspire to play NRL, who are sort of sitting in reserve grade going, will I ever get there? Ron Massey's the one at the New South Wales Cup, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a couple
mate, good on him. I love those types of stories, and I hope people that ever take the time to learn about Thomas Jenkins, go back and, look where he came from to where he is now. That's unreal.
Yeah, well, it is a great story. Went to Newcastle Knights after an okay coming in here and there for the Penrith Panthers. Definitely wasn't a standout. He goes to Newcastle because they promise him a jersey. Doesn't get the jersey, then has to obviously fight his way into first grade there. They don't include him because they get Dom Young. And then, he went back to the Penrith Panthers because he just called Ivan Cleary and said, look, I want to come back. I want an opportunity. Fights his way through Ron Massey Cup and, obviously gets back into this team and had to play fullback in round 1 against Melbourne last year. And then, he's killed it in this one as well. Played very, very well. Isaiah Yeo, mate, doesn't cease to surprise. He's an absolute workhorse. You talk about guys that don't have bad games. Isaiah Yeo is definitely in that bracket.
Mate, another one. Just turns up, takes his hit up, ball plays, 1%ers. He just keeps them so cool, calm, and collected. Like I watch whenever the camera angles do go to when the Panthers do get scored against, I always like to watch and see who's talking. Nathan Cleary's obviously there, but Isaiah Yeo is the one that usually is talking last. Even when they've scored tries, it seems like he's the guy that sends the last message before they break out, get in their positions and get ready to go again. What a leader.
Yeah, 100%. He was outstanding. And then, look, the last thing on me, we sort of touched on it before with Penrith, but the Cogger little rotation, he comes on in that roaming capacity as a second halfback and Cleary gets a bit of pressure off him, similar to that 2023 grand final. Don't mind it,
I do like it. I think it'll only be used sporadically. I don't think it's something you can do every week against every team. Obviously, every game is different. At that time, that move that they pulled off actually did work. Again, in the grand final, it also did work. I just find that maybe it can only be used, as I said before, sporadically against certain teams, depending on which way the momentum is going. Example, if they're down by 10 or a couple of tries, I wouldn't see that sort of go into the game to try and maybe possibly swing momentum as much. But I think if they're in a well-balanced game and they're sort of wanting to pull away, I think that he can go in there and make a big difference.
Totally, 100%. Just quickly on the Broncos, Walsh, the Penrith Panthers, we talked about their defence, but they didn't give him any space to attack. He only ran for 80 metres in this game.
He didn't have, well, to be honest, they didn't let him play well, did they? As you've just brought up, they ambushed him. That's probably the best word to put to this game. They went up there and they did a job. I thought the wrong decision, in my opinion, was to bring Ezra Mam off the bench. I didn't understand that. Obviously, I'm not an NRL coach in charge of the Brisbane Broncos, but I just feel that round 1, get your best 1 to 17 on the field and get your best 1 to 13. Not saying that Ben Hunt should not have been there, but if you're going to, in my opinion, I think Ezra Mam starting the game is going to bring you a lot more than putting him on before 10 minutes before halftime.
Yeah, look, totally. And I think when you train a certain way throughout a preseason and then you change that up for a round 1 game, it just creates a bunch of headaches and a bunch of different, headaches was probably the right word there, because especially like last year, when we were looking at Ben Hunt and obviously with Reece Walsh, a lot of the time with Reece Walsh, Ben Hunt didn't actually give him a lot of space. Ben Hunt usually likes his fullbacks to play a little bit shorter and just go straight into the line. He usually plays with a bit of a bigger fullback in your Guthos. Well, not even Gutho. I don't think they cross path, but he had Tyrell Sloan. I'm just trying to think back, Dragons fullbacks. He usually plays with someone bigger, and so he likes his fullbacks to dig into the line a little bit deeper, whereas Ezra Mam gives Walsh heaps of space out the back, and we saw that last year. To flip that on Walsh last minute, but also on the team last minute when they've practiced playing a certain way throughout the preseason, Ben Hunt's probably only playing for one more season as well. It didn't make a lot of sense.
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. That's probably it from me on this one. I think Haas playing 80 minutes. Do you read into that a little bit, or what do you think?
You're gonna blow the engine.
Yeah,
it's round 1. They were. I don't know what time he maybe had to think, well, we can't win this game and give the bloke a rest. It's okay not to play him 80 minutes every week, because I think getting 55 or 60 minutes out of Payne Haas, for 20 games is going to be better than getting 80 minutes out of him for 15 games. Those minutes that he plays, if you can have him when he's feeling 8, 9 out of 10, you're going to get more from him.
Yeah.
He's just come off of preseason. He's just taken your team forward the whole last year to get him to the grand final. Like, you don't have to keep flogging the horse. It's okay to play him, 50 to 60 minutes and getting those robust runs out of him and leading those 1% things that he does do.
Yeah, totally. Sharks and Titans, mate. We'll get stuck into this one. Heaps more to talk about for the Sharks. I don't take a lot out of this one for the Titans. They, again, with the 6 agains, a little bit, but just with a little bit of luck at direction for the Titans, they just struggled in this one, unfortunately, and the Sharks are just a way higher quality side going into this year.
I think people underestimate how hard it is to go to Cronulla and actually win a game of football, especially on a wet and rainy night. I remember I played there once or twice, and it's just like, by the end of the game, you're like, just get me out here, get me to the car park and let me go home. And it just looked like that a little bit for the Gold Coast Titans, where it wasn't going their way at all, and it just the ship just kept sinking. And the Sharks just rose to the occasion. They wanted to put a good show on. Obviously, Hines and Trindle had an absolute outing together, playing really, really well. Jesse Ramian, that try where he cut back on the inside, threw a drop ball, ran straight over the top of Verrills and slammed the ball down. I thought that was, that probably signaled to the Sharks, coaching staff, I want to be here, and this is why I'm trying to show you guys now moving forward. The biggest thing for the Sharks is to do this now for a solid 5-6 week block and try to get together 4, 5, 6 wins. I think that will really set their season up. I've seen enough from the Titans for them to have this as a good building block. We can't expect a new coach to go to, a new team and come out and beat a team that's firing and looking to contend for the premiership and win at their home ground in round one. It just doesn't have much logic. But I think the Titans will be better off for this run, and I think they've got a good building block for what they were able to dish up at parts of the game.
Yeah, look, I think they desperately needed Jaden Campbell out there too, with how much of an attacking weapon he is. They definitely needed a guy like him out there. But in saying that as well, you've got AJ Brimson, who's one of the better running fullbacks in the game, playing in a bit more of a 5'8" position with a halfback that can give him space. And he had 5 runs for 19 metres.
I don't think he's a 6.
Yeah.
I would, in my opinion, I'd play Brimson in the centres or at fullback. I don't think he's a 6. I understand that they've got Kinney there now, so I don't know if that applies a little bit of pressure to put Brimson into the centres. I think Brimson's one of those guys. If you give him the ball early, he's got the ability to beat the person in front of him 9 times out of 10, and I think that would be a great position for him in the centres where they can go quick ball to him and let him to see what he can do. I think at times it just appears that he gets a little bit flustered when the ball's in his hand and there's a whole lot going on around him. I think he's one of those players, if you can just give him the ball and allow him to have his creative presence do something off the back of it, they'll be much better, and I think Brimson will come into his own.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do hope so. I think that centre is probably the logical thing, especially when Jaden Campbell's back, and depending on how Lockie Ilias, if he can improve over the next couple of weeks as well. I don't think he necessarily had a bad game. I just think the Sharks were way better.
He didn't get much opportunity.
Yeah,
he didn't.
Exactly.
You know what I mean. And some of the things he did was okay. He didn't have the best game, but I think as I said before, being in a new team, going to the Cronulla Sharks home ground round one is a big ask.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Look, the last thing on the Titans, Tino, 12 runs, 89 metres. It's not very often you see that, but again, you sort of made the point about making the trip there to Cronulla in round one. It is a tough task, but I mean, still, I'd expect a little bit more from a Tino. To be fair,
whoever Titans are playing this week, look out.
Yeah.
That big unit is going to come with vengeance. He did have 1 or 2 drop balls, I noticed too, so I don't know if he went into the game a little bit underdone maybe, or just was a little bit overruled by what the Sharks were able to put in front of him. But whoever the Titans play this week, I'm just putting it out there. I think you just got to watch out for this guy because he's coming with vengeance.
100%, 100%.
Oh, actually,
yep.
Did he get suspended for that non-wrapping tackle?
No, he didn't.
He didn't. Good on him. That's good. So. Yep. They did one. They did something good. Good on
him. Mate, the Sharkies. Obviously, the big point in this one, Trindle Hines. I mean, Trindle more so, but both of them look very, very good coming into the year, don't they?
He put a clinic on, and this is the thing. I'm pretty sure it was Trindle or Hines. They made a great point. We've played together now for long enough to understand how we play and what we can do for the Sharks team. I vividly remember, it might have been Nico saying that when you have your halves and your best players in that mindset, that to me, listening to that is like they're going for it. They have an understanding of each other now. and I think they've got the forward pack. If you look at that forward pack, obviously Adam Fanua-Blake, when he does come over rest, they do lose a little bit, but they've still got that far. Like, who's the 15?
Sia Talakai, Stiffer.
Talakai, yep, coming off the bench, and Rudolph. Great leg speed through the middle, both hard workers, bit more mobile, and they're perfect to come on for that 10 or 15-minute spurt when your two big boppers who start come off.
Yeah, 100%. They've got a really good team this year. I've actually tipped the Sharks to win the comp this year.
Oof.
Yeah, I look at this side and look
over the Rabbits.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, look, I just look at this Shark side, the confidence that Hines and Trindle have come into the season with, even in the Indigenous All-Stars game and in that last trial. Yep. Again, we don't take too much out of trials, but they just look to be super confident coming into this year. And, I mean, if you were sort of looking for if they're confident enough to go there, Trindle, 4 try assists, 2 tries, like, he was unbelievable. The bald Trindle going on a bit of a streak there. Looked really, really nice. What else was there? The physicality was the big one. They just really beat them through the middle of the field there. The Sharkies, I don't think you can really blame the 6 agains and stuff like that for this one. It was just they were out-muscled. They were outdone. Sharks are looking to be a top 4 side this year. Titans, I'm not too sure about. They were really just beaten with the physicality, weren't they?
They were. They got a showing of what a premiership contender can play like.
That's it. Dolphins and South, the last one. For the Dolphins. I think there's still positives to take out of this game for the Dolphins. Scored plenty of points. They put 30 points on the Bunnies. Isaiah Katoa looks like he's in for a big year. Kicking game, really good. Pretty silky. What were your thoughts on the Dolphins' performance in this one?
I think the Dolphins allowed the Rabbits to get under their skin a little bit. Did you notice that? I think the Rabbitohs actually threw them off their game a bit. I think the Dolphins... I think they missed a little bit over the... I like Flegler coming off the bench is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. I like Flegler coming off the bench for them the last couple of weeks. I don't think they had so much oomph coming off the bench from them this week. Not saying that Flegler's a bench player. He obviously is a starter, but I think if they're going to, move him up to the starting front row, someone needs to actually put their hand up and try and mimic the way that he's played for him through those trials, because he did come on and add something. And I know he was getting himself back into match fitness and all that sort of stuff, but I think they've lost a little bit off the bench.
Well, they still need to get back Jeremy Marshall-King at 9, but they've also getting back Daniel Saifidi, Kurt Donahue, Max Plath.
There you go. So there's my answer for myself.
Yeah. They've still got a couple of guys to come back, but I'll tell you what, getting under their skin, your point was proved very right at the back end of the game when Gilbert was throwing those fake punches to Fafita and got sent to the bin. Geez, that was pretty soft. None of those boys should have gone off, in my opinion. But it is what it is. It certainly got under their skin a little bit there. I think the Rabbitohs also just dominated at stages through the middle. Like, you got Keon running for 250-plus metres, 220 metres in the first half. You've got guys like Totola who run for 150 in this one, just really beat them with the yardage game. And the Dolphins, 50, 60 metres, a little bit of a physicality trumpet stages as well. I think the Dolphins, they definitely seemed a little bit agitated in this one.
I tend to agree, and really do agree with that. Obviously, Kaloa Matangi had a massive game, but Murray was the difference. Like, he gets to the defender within a metre to half a metre, and he just puts that jink on, gets to either side of their shoulder. He has that feint where he can hold the outside defender up, and it just allows him to get through. And his post-contact meters, where he carried, 2 or 3 defenders per time, hit the deck, on his front, up and played the ball. He was massive for them, and I just thought that they used Fafita perfectly. Walker was just having an absolute field day of getting the ball nice and close to the line, and then just give it to him on the outside with a smaller defender, and it just allows him to run rampant. Then all of a sudden you see what they did when there was a break down the right-hand side, or they laid something on the right-hand side of the field. All it was a 2-pass shift to Latrell. He would just go bang, bang, bang. And obviously he crossed the line a couple of times. And when I find when you find no Latrell's on, he's taking hard yardage carries. That's when I can feel he's on, and he was doing that on the weekend.
Do you feel like even the Dolphins might be a tad underdone? Because, There was a couple moments. There was a couple moments in there. So you talked about that spread, that shift out to the left hand side with Trell. Obviously that Campbell Graham kick, Oren Keeley catches it, and then Campbell Graham strips it straight off him and scores that try. There was that knock on as well through the middle of the field, and then it was picked up by Latrell Mitchell straight away, and he grounds it under the post. Like, it was just a couple moments there where it's like, if you're more switched on and you're more fit, you're capitalising on those moments and you're keeping the ball in possession.
I think Wolves said it after the game that they didn't compete as hard as the Rabbitohs. And I probably, what you've just said, then tend to agree with him. I think though, what keeps the Dolphins in the game is what I was saying before. Once they get that bench back where they've got that nice balance and a couple of those bigger bodies, and they can, keep that momentum going, I just think that allows Katoa to be in the game a lot more, using his passes, his feints. His kicking game will obviously be a lot better, kicking off the back of momentum and all those sorts of things that just add to the 1%ers of the game. The big thing for the Dolphins, which was great, all their back five are in for over 100 metres. I'm looking here, 122 for Dow, Asako, Avarello, Farnworth, Cobbo. Like, Cobbo's a big tell sign for me as well. When he starts taking yardage carries, he's on. He had some great line breaks too. I remember they shift the ball the way to the left, him going down, putting that kick in, and I think Farnworth ended up scoring off the back of that, or they ended up getting a repeat set. So it's all there for them to be able to put a great season together, and they did still manage to score 30 points. It's just they let 40 in.
Yep, 100%. Last thing on the Dolphins, Colony Lemuelu down that left-hand side. He is a player and a half. Just some of his movements. He was going out, skipping outside, drawing in that extra defender, and then creating space for Farnworth for a few breaks down that left-hand edge. Lemuelu is a player. We saw that he's obviously got those high ball catches as well. He can be a bit of an aerial threat, but just adding a couple layers to his game, isn't he?
He is. And I think the longer the season goes on and who he's got around him, he can build those combinations and begin to bring the players around him into the game a lot more.
100%. For the Bunnies, just quickly, Cody Walker, huge performance for him. Kicked a 40-20, the first one of his career. Obviously, the little grubber down the left-hand side, I wish that was a try. That would have been one of the better tries of the year so far. But just looked really good in shape and was very, very impressive, wasn't he?
And the 40-20 was the 30-20. I'm pretty sure it was on fifth tackle, and he had a ton of kick pressure on him, and he just found just over the top of Asako. Asako, I think, had a big set where he maybe took one or two carries and was in on a kick chase and just found himself out of a position. And I think Walker nullified that and put the ball on a dime, and I think it was one bouncing over. They're the types of things he can do. And I would have never guessed that his first 40-20 of his rugby league career. You think he'd be kicking one or two a game?
Yeah, I was having the exact same conversation with chaps from Rabbitohs Radio today. You'd be shocked that it was his first one of his career. We talked about Keon already. We talked about Cam Murray and Totola. I thought that the unsung hero of this contest was Ewan Aiken on the right side. He was outstanding. Did you cross paths with him when you were at St. George?
Yeah, he debuted the same game I came back into first grade, which is against Canberra in 2015. So, Yui started in the centres and now he's ended up in the back row, and he's just gone on in leaps and bounds. It's funny rugby league, like how a strong ball running centre can, eventually find his way into the back row, and he does some tremendous work for all the teams he has played for.
Well, back row, but he even played about 30 minutes in the front row as well. He was playing through the middle at a stage there as well, and he absolutely killed it. Jai Gray, Jesus, the Dolphins' marker defense in this one was questionable. There was twice that the Peter Mamazoulis one, where he dummied and went straight through the middle of them and then found Jai Gray, and then Jai Gray did the same thing as well. Unfortunately, the try was called back, but you've got to be much better and tighter defensively through the middle. And again, it comes back to my point about being potentially a little bit underdone, the Dolphins, but South Sydney exploited them, and Jai Gray was a big part of that. Yeah,
he's going to have a massive year, isn't he? He just seems to be in the right positions all the time. And the biggest thing, he competes. Avarello taking the intercept looked like he was going for all money. Jai Gray ran from the other side of the field to keep him out on that touchline, but he almost caught him. If there was another 10 to 15 metres, I reckon he would have tackled him. So those significant efforts, people may not look at them as a big thing, but they've got to kick the goal from the sideline, and I'm pretty sure Asako missed it.
Yeah.
That one. So, those little efforts that he brings into the game, which isn't even him involving being on the ball, is such a massive attribute.
100%. Look, let's get stuck into the tips for round two, courtesy of Bear Bet. Hopefully, Jakey, we can have a better week this week across the board. But we'll start off with your Thursday game, probably one of the better Thursday games we're going to get this year. Two sides looking for a bounce back. The Broncos taking on the Parramatta Eels. What are we thinking?
Mate, it doesn't get any easier, does it?
No.
I'm going to stick with the Broncos because it's at Suncorp. I don't think they can lose 2 in a row at Suncorp. So I like the Eels. I've got a big rap on the Eels, but I find it hard for the Broncos to lose 2 games in a row at Brisbane. And I've got no doubt they'll be filthy that they didn't score any points last week.
100%. I think the Broncos respond in a big way, especially through the middle. Eels will be without Jermaine Hopgood for a couple of games. I'm not sure if he's challenging that little suspension there, but yeah, give me the Broncos. Warriors and the Raiders. What are we thinking here?
I'm going with the Warriors. It's in Auckland. I think the Raiders played really well in patches, whereas I think the Warriors played better for a longer period of time in that round 1 clash. So I think if the Raiders turn up and only play well in patches, the Warriors could get their second win of the season.
I think it's going to be a really physical game. I think it's only going to be a 1-12 game, but I'm in the similar boat to you. I think the Warriors will get it done. Game of the round, Chooks and South. What are we thinking?
I'm going to go the Rabbitohs because I think Spencer Leno being out is a massive loss for them. It's a prime front rower that they're going to lose, and I think it showed last week how much he does actually mean to that team. Even though I do know the Roosters need a win, I think the Rabbitohs are going to turn up and put their second win of the season on the board.
Well, hopefully for Roosters fans, Rob Toyer's back as well because he was out last week too for them. But yeah, look, I'm going to go South Sydney. Can't go against my side in that one. Tigers and Cowboys. What are we thinking here?
Tigers, mate. They're playing at the 8th wonder of the world, Leichhardt Oval. What a joint. What a rugby league oval. How good is it that their first game of the season is there and I don't see them getting beat there?
Yeah, same. I'm going to go the Tigers. I've been really impressed with them throughout the trials. I think that they're going to have a huge year. And if that Hamasi Makasini's playing, look out. Dragons, Melbourne. What are we thinking?
I'm saying it. I'm going the Dragons at Wynn Stadium. I think, and I'm going off this, right? The Dragons, by looking at them, they love playing dirty footy. And I think if they can turn up at Wynn Stadium and create an ambush, how the Panthers did to the Broncos, I think the game will be a lot tighter than what it is, but I'm going to be biased and I'm going to go for the Dragons to beat the Storm at Wynn Stadium.
Oh, I can't go against Melbourne after last week. Give me the Melbourne Storm. Panthers and Sharks. This is actually going to be up there with one of the games of the round for sure.
Far out. I'm going the Sharks. I'm going the Sharks. I like the Sharks.
Yeah, give me Penrith. Sea Eagles and Knights.
I'm going the Knights.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Manly at 4 Pines to get a bit of a bounce back after last week losing there. And then to finish the week off, we have got the Dolphins and the Titans. I think I'm going to go the Dolphins. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm staying with the Dolphins. I think they'll bounce back.
All right, fins up. There you go, guys. That is your 3rd episode of Momentum. Make sure to subscribe down below to join the ride for what is going to be a big season for Momentum. New show coming soon over the next 2 weeks as well, so make sure that you stay tuned for that. Very exciting things. Sophie Curtin working behind the scenes on something very special for you guys, so stay tuned. We'll see you guys in the next one.